brought to you by oneaauto.com, your source for quality parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of oneaauto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to remove the intake manifold on our 2006 Cadillac CTS 2.8 liter V6. This will allow you to access a ton of stuff under the motor that you're going to need to replace eventually with any vehicle. And while we're in there, we'll show you how to change the upper Plenum intake gaskets as well. If you like this information, please click that subscribe button. We have a ton more information on this vehicle as well as many other makes and models. And if you want to buy these parts for your vehicle, they're available from oneaauto.com. You can follow the link in the description. Here are the items you'll need for this repair. Remove the black caps over the nuts for the windshield wiper arms. All you have to do is squeeze them together, pop them off. We're going to use a small piece of painter's tape. Make sure you use the straight edge to mark the position and angle of the wiper blade so we can reinstall our wiper arms properly. Remove the two 15mm nuts securing the wiper arms down, the 15mm socket and ratchet. If you're only replacing one arm, you'll only have to do this for that particular one. Work the wiper arms off of the splines. Do this by grabbing them at the joint, simply pulling up and pushing down. Eventually, it'll work its way off the splines. You can remove your wiper arm. Peel off the weather strip. Remove these four 7mm screws. We're going to use a 7mm socket and ratchet. Lift up, carefully release this plastic as it's hooked under the windshield. See the little hooks here? Just be careful to pull out and away with those. Remove this 10mm nut up against the fender on the driver's side. Lift up off of the splines for the wiper arms. Remove the driver's side of the cowl cover. Remove these two 10mm bolts securing the wiper transmission and assembly into the vehicle. It's a little easier to access this top one from the other side of the hood. We're going to use a 10mm socket, ratchet, and extension. Lift up and toward the center of the vehicle to release this tab. Flip over the assembly, release the connector, remove the assembly from your vehicle. We're going to remove the engine cover, remove the oil cap, lift up and pop off the cover, and reinstall the oil cap to prevent any dirt and debris from falling in while we're working. Using a flat blade screwdriver, loosen the intake boot clamp. And pop this back off the throttle body. Remove the yellow safety on the throttle body electrical connector. Push down on the tab and release it from the throttle body motor. On the bottom of this fitting is a little tab. You want to push that out with a flat blade screwdriver. Remove the fitting from the nipple. Remove these two vacuum fittings. Simply going to pop them out, carefully pry them out with a screwdriver. Using a flat blade screwdriver, pry the wire loom up off of the intake. Remove the vacuum booster line from the side of the intake. Lift up this sound deadening material and release these two connectors. We'll remove these 4 bolts with a 10mm socket and ratchet. Once all the bolts have been removed, move the brackets they were securing off the side of the manifold and out of the way. Using a 10mm wrench, remove these 3 bolts. Loosen this 18mm bolt at the bottom of the bracket. Crack the bolt loose with an 18mm socket and ratchet. Remove these 6 13mm bolts with a 13mm socket and ratchet. Using a flat blade screwdriver, release this harness retainer from the throttle body. And remove the intake manifold. Remove your old intake manifold upper plenum gaskets from the intake runners. We'll spray a little brake cleaner on a clean rag or paper towel. We'll wipe all the oil and debris off of the gasket surfaces, both on the plenums of the intake here and on the ports of the manifold itself. Just want to make sure those are nice and clean. Do the same thing here on the bottom side of the intake manifold itself. Just wipe off that contact surface on the ports. If you feel any burrs or debris buildup, file that off carefully. You'll see that there's a small tab that sits into a hole on the top of the runners, as well as a hole that sits onto this dowel on your new intake gaskets. Go ahead and line all that up. Then we'll install our intake manifold. Start your 13mm bolts once you have the manifold set onto its tabs. The longest ones will go into these 4 countersunk holes in the center, and the shorter 2 will go on these outside ones. We'll tighten all these down with a 13mm socket and ratchet. Torque these bolts to 17 foot-pounds. Reconnect the electrical connectors at the rear of the manifold, the brake booster vacuum line, and the 2 PCV lines, 1 on each side. Reconnect this fitting to the nipple at the front of the manifold until that clicks into place. Reinstall the 4 10mm bolts for the harness hold downs, 3 on the passenger side, 1 on the driver. We'll then tighten them down with a 10mm socket and ratchet. Line up this bracket. Spin this 10mm bolt in. Tighten up the bolt we loosened at the base of this bracket with an 18mm socket and ratchet. Snug this bolt with a 10mm wrench. Reinstall the sound deadening material onto its pins, as well as the throttle body connector. Lock that safety back into place. We'll reinstall the airbox on the end. Make sure this vacuum line at the back of that box is still connected. Tighten the clamp with a flat blade screwdriver. Remove the oil fill cap. Reinstall the engine cover. Reinstall your oil fill cap. Reconnect the electrical connector. Set this opening onto the pin. And start tightening down your two 10mm bolts. Reinstall the driver's side of the cowl cover first. Be sure that all the plastic hooks line up under the windshield. Reinstall the 10mm nut. Reinstall the passenger side of the cowl cover. Again, make sure that all these hooks line up and go underneath the windshield. Reinstall your 7mm screws. Reinstall the rubber seal. The channel simply presses on to this ridge here. Line up your wiper to the tape mark we made on the windshield earlier. And torque to 26 foot-pounds. Line up your wiper to the tape mark we made earlier. Start the nut by hand. Torque the nut to 26 foot-pounds. Reinstall the plastic cap. Close the hood. Remove the tape marks from the windshield. And check for proper operation of your wiper motor.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope this video helped you out. Next time you need parts for your car, please visit 1aauto.com. Also check out our other helpful how-to as well as diagnosis videos.